I got an idea. Eeny.
Hey y'all, I'm Josh McDermitt from The Walking Dead.
Meeny.
Hi, Sonequa Martin Green, Sasha on The Walking Dead.
Mighty.
Hi, my name is Ross Marquand. You know me as Aaron on The Walking Dead.
Mo.
Hey guys, I'm Michael Cudlitz. I play Abraham Ford on The Walking Dead, and you are listening to the Dave and Creech podcast.
You can breathe. You can blink. You can cry. Hell, you're all gonna be doing that.
This is the Dave and Creech Show, the only podcast where podcaster CJ Creech and actor Dave Sheridan come together to talk all things entertainment with your favorite entertainers. Want to ask our guests a question? Tweet them to @DaveSheridan or @CJCNOV88, and they may be asked to our guests live on the show. We do have to ask you stay seated during the podcast because this ride may get a little bit hilarious. Now here's your hosts, Dave and Creech.
Hey everybody out there, welcome to the Dave and Creech Show. This is episode 37, a special one. This is our second podcast in a week. I am your host for this special episode, CJ Creech. Dave Sheridan, unfortunately, will not be with us. He'll be returning next week. The reason why he's not on here is he was at the Hollywood Horror Fest last night, and he got to meet a lot of fans, and that was going on in North Carolina, so a little late for him. He's probably still sleeping at this point, but I know he had fun, and it was a great time to be had there, as anything Halloween related is, of course. But let's get to today's special episode. It is Sunday. It is the premiere of The Walking Dead. It comes on tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you check it out on AMC tonight. And in order to celebrate not only the return of the show, which is definitely a cause to celebrate, with Season 6 ending on such a cliffhanger, we decided to go back through our archives and look for the actual cast members that were in that lineup, the interviews that we had done with them. And we saw that we had did 4. I mean, if you go back, though, and obviously if you're a Walking Dead fan and you're listening to this, we have over 30 interviews with former, current, and main cast of The Walking Dead. So, you ever have a chance to make sure you go back through there. We've got some good stuff. Now, as you heard in that intro, we've got Josh McDermitt, Sonequa Martin Green, Ross Marquand, and Michael Cudlitz. These are all 4 great people that I've had the pleasure to interact with. As you know, Michael was actually on Dave and Creech, while the other 3 were actually on my former podcast, Creech Questions. But Michael is also the most recent, but you're going to hear stories from all 4 of these people about their times on the set. So, in some ways, if one of these 4 are the one to get Lucille'd, it's kind of like going through their memories type thing. So that could be pretty interesting. So let's not delay any further. We're going to go ahead and get into these interviews. Like I said, there's 4 interviews today. It's going to be great. So let's do it. First up is Sonequa Martin Green, Sasha from The Walking Dead. Now, I had her, actually, I believe when I interviewed her, it was the week of the Season 5 finale, and it was for a special Girl Power episode of my previous podcast, Creech Questions. She was a terrific guest. She actually got a trophy for the Guest of the Year last year for the podcast, and she's got a lot of great stuff to talk about, so let's go ahead and check it out.
Hi, CJ.
Hi there, Sonequa. How are you?
How good. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. Thank you for joining us on such short notice.
Of course. Thank you.
And I'll go ahead and get into the questions if that's fine.
Oh, yeah, sure. Let's do it.
All right. What does it mean to you to star in a show that features so many strong female characters?
Oh man, it means a lot to me. It's definitely a dream come true because as a strong woman, I love to see strong women portrayed. I think it's extremely important for girls and young women to see themselves and to see the potential of themselves. And I count it as a big blessing to be a part of a show that showcases that so brilliantly, because it's subtle, but it's impactful. It's powerful, but it's quiet. There's these women are they're not robots. They're not one-dimensional. They're humans. They're well-rounded beings. They've got flaws and they've got strengths, and I just think it's great.
Definitely, and it's amazing that all of the female characters have, like you said, they've grown, and that most of them are completely different from when they started, but you've watched them, get wiser and be stronger and continue to provide it in all sorts of ways for really the whole group. What does the term girl power mean to you?
Oh, well, I think that especially now, being a mother, my perspective of, feminine power is different now. It's much more expanded, and to me, it means, there's that inner ancient, source of strength that, inside of a woman. We have a very, blessed journey as women. We're able to, bring life into the world through us, and, we're the sort of backbone, in a lot of our families, and, we also are the heart in a lot of our relationships, and the nurturer, the comforter, all of these things. And so to me, it means a lot, this concept of girl power. But I also think that it's something that young women can latch on to, girls can latch on to. I love it. I'm all about it.
Awesome. And growing up, who were some of your favorite female role models?
My mother, number one. She's a warrior, if there ever was one. So she was definitely inspiring to me. And a lot of women on TV inspired me. Angela Bassett, actually, her portrayal of Tina Turner in What's Love Got to Do with It had a big impact on me as a child. I also really loved, there was this character that was in a lot of action flicks back then. The character's name was China O'Brien, but I can't remember the actor's name who played the role, but I loved her. She was this fighter, and I loved watching all of her movies. I was always very moved by strong women, women who could take care of themselves, women who could fight, women who stood up to themselves. That was always what resonated with me growing up.
Exactly, and it seems like as each decade really passes, it seems like there's more and more strong female role models that are being in movies and TV shows and in music and everything. It's pretty awesome to witness.
Yes, it is. There has been a change in the tide, and it's been a steady process, and I think it's timely. Of course, nobody has to repeat what it's been like for women, over the last few centuries. We know all of the oppression and everything that women have suffered And so it's amazing. You know, we're in this new generation of the strong woman, and it's nice to witness it, and I think it really strengthens us as a society to witness it and to be in this time right now.
I definitely agree. And speaking of strong women, some of the listeners may not be aware, but you were pregnant, I believe, during most of the filming of season 5.
Yes, all of it. Everything you've seen thus far, I was pregnant.
Well, I've got a question from our Creech Creative Productions Facebook page. Miss Jennifer Pierce wanted to know, how was it filming this show pregnant?
Well, the most challenging experience I think I've ever gone through. You know, it was really tough. You know, it was physically draining. It was emotionally draining. You know, I'm going through a lot right now as Sasha, and so it took a toll on me. And I just thank God I was able to get through it. I was definitely, you know, blessed with the strength and the vitality and the focus and everything to maintain a level of performance that I'm capable of, that I know I'm capable of. So I was able to do what everyone else was doing, and I was able to do what I would have been doing if I wasn't pregnant, and I count that as a huge blessing. And yeah, all the way through, and then, you know, obviously ultimately to his birth. You know, it's girl power indeed.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I believe your son's a couple of months now, or old now?
Yeah, he's 11 weeks. He's 11 weeks. No. He will be 11 weeks on Saturday, so he's technically 10 and a half weeks right now.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
What do you enjoy most so far about being a mother?
Oh man, what do I enjoy most? I just enjoy the deepening of love. You know, that's been an amazing thing to go through so far. And I know that it's going to continue. But just having this understanding of love that you've never had before, and having it widen and deepen and just grow as the days go on, is really, it's exhilarating, and it's also humbling. It's a beautiful experience.
Definitely, it really is. I have a 3-year-old myself, and she's my
world.
Oh,
so you know.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes, ma'am. And when you initially signed on for The Walking Dead, did you think Sasha was going to survive this long due to the notoriety of pretty much people not lasting very long on the show? And especially gained as...
I tell you what, it's something that you have to contend with. You know, the possibility of leaving at any moment. You know, it's a part of it. It comes with the territory. And, you know, we just take it and we learn how to live in the moment and appreciate the moment. And, you know, just take it all in as it's given. I didn't know what was going to happen with Sasha when I first came onto the show. I didn't know how long I didn't know how long I would be on. I didn't know what was in store for me. But I'm extremely excited and very grateful for what has come. You know, I think it's been amazing, so rich and compelling, and, you know, it's been strengthening me as an actor and as a person, as a friend, as a professional, everything, as a woman. And so I didn't know what was to come, and but it's been great.
Awesome. And another part to that is, what do you think about, how does it feel to know that your character of Sasha is inspiring females everywhere, and now you yourself are a role model to millions of young females around the world?
It makes me want to cry. It really does. I mean, it's the true reward of what we do. It's the true reward of storytelling, is being able to influence someone in a positive way, being able to put up a mirror, to society and have a lasting impact on someone. Words can't express how it makes me feel. It's such an honor to be able to do it, be able to touch people. It is an honor, nothing short of an honor. And I could talk all day about it and cry all day about it as well. I'm just so grateful.
All right. In the most recent episodes, Sasha's had a little bit of an attitude change due to her unfortunate losses. As an actress, you talked about a little bit that this season's been pretty hard emotionally. How did you go about preparing for the very emotional scenes?
Well, my preparation it's all about the story. It's all about the world that I'm in. And for me, it's about spending time in that world. It's about, because the writing is so good, I say this all the time, the writing is so rich and multi-layered that all you have to do is just take time in that. You just take the time to think about it and meditate on it and, just spin your wheels, with the story. And that's what I do, and that's the preparation that always gets me to where I need to be. It's nothing has to be forced when the writing is as good as it is. You can just sort of delve into it and let it take you.
Exactly. Yeah. The writing blows me away on the show pretty much every single episode. You think they hit a plateau, and then it's just an even better one.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's great to hear.
All right. And the next question is going to be a fan question that was submitted to us through Facebook. This one is from Vernon Newton, who is the admin of the Walking Dead fan base group on Facebook. It has over 65,000 people, and he was just wondering whose death affected Sasha more. Was it Bob or was it Tyrese?
Oh, man, that's a question right there. That's a good question. Well, it's interesting because they hit in different ways, and it's hard though. I would say that it's kind of like the knockout, like the 1-2 punch, for me, for Sasha. It took so long for her to open up to Bob. And, that connection was something she was already sort of averse to. But, he was persistent, and he saw through her, straight through to her weaknesses, those that she thought she was hiding so well. He saw straight through her to them. And no one, had ever done that before in that way. And so finally she broke down and let him in. And with him came promise. And with him came hope. And so losing him affected her in a very specific way. But losing Tyrese, he was always her security. She didn't realize it at the time, but, he was her sort of assurance that at the end of the day, everything is going to be okay. And I don't even know if it's something that she was readily aware of, that security that he gave her. I don't think she understood just how much she depended on his presence, just knowing that he was still in the world with her. It did a lot for her. And so even the possibility of losing him at the end of season 4 caused her to choose to be alone. She didn't even want to go to terms and face the fact that he could be dead. She would rather be alone than deal with the fact that he could be dead. And so to actually lose him, it's as if the ground fell out from under her. And I think she's facing herself in a way she never has as a result of it. So I don't know. It's hard to say which one hit her harder, but I'll say that perhaps Tyrese hit her deeper.
Up next is Ross Marquand, who plays Aaron on The Walking Dead. Now, Ross is somebody who I've gotten to know pretty well. I'd like to consider him a friend at this point. He's a cool dude. He's a master at imitations. Some of his imitations of actors like Brad Pitt and Kevin Spacey, I mean, they have to be seen to be believed. If you weren't looking at the screen, you'd have thought that was actually whoever he was imitating. You'd have thought that was them. Now, he is a terrific guy. He's done a lot, especially for the recently deceased Vernon Newton. Ross is a great guy, and this is a great interview. I did this back in between. This was after Season 5 ended and right before the beginning of Season 6. So here's Ross Marquand. Enjoy.
I'm here with Ross Marquand, and we've got a couple questions for you. I do want to thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And first question is, do you see any similarities between Aaron and Daryl that really lead to them getting along just so well?
Absolutely. I think for various different reasons, Aaron and Daryl are seen as sort of outsiders in their different communities, and Daryl's been an outsider his whole life in many respects, coming from potentially an abusive home and just, having to deal with a lot of really dark stuff in his past. And I think Aaron, same thing, he's not had a very easy life dealing with his sexuality, and, I think that in and of itself is a big part of the reason why they bond so quickly, because they're two men who, at the end of the day, just want to do right by other people. And they are trying very hard to maintain their humanity in a world that's completely lost. The society is broken down to the point of absurdity, and they're still maintaining their goodness, which I think is ultimately why they bond so quickly.
All right, and one of the character traits that you have on the show is you collect license plates.
Yeah.
Just how many license plates do you usually get going to these conventions?
Quite a few. I've got several at this one, and it's funny because I have been collecting license plates on my own for years, and I've always had a fascination with vanity plates and just license plates in general. I think there's a lot of history to them, and they always have kind of a story to them, I feel like, And I'm actually starting a charity where I'm going to be collecting license plates. And people can find my P.O. box on my Instagram or Twitter, and they can send me license plates that are deactivated, of course, and we'll give the proceeds to charity. So if there's anybody who wants to send their old license plates, they don't know what they want to throw it out, don't throw it out, send it to me, and we'll get it to the right charity. So.
And what are your official social media, so that if they want to find out that information?
Twitter, at Ross Marquand, Instagram, at Ross Marquand, and those are the two best ones to find me on, yeah.
Okay, and you also aren't just in The Walking Dead, you're in the show Impress Me.
Correct.
I don't know if there's any overlap in that, but how is it going, really, doing two shows at pretty much once? Yeah, well, it's funny. We shot the vast majority of Impress Me about 2 years ago under the tutelage of Rainn Wilson, our executive producer from The Office, of course, and Ben Shelton, our writer-director, had known both Jim Meskimen and myself for years. And had known that we both did impressions and enjoyed doing impressions, but ultimately had aspirations of becoming serious dramatic actors. And time again, people would only see us as these impressionists, which would be, fun at first, but then after a while, like, no, I really can act. I can do other things. But no one wanted to give us a shot for the longest time. So Ben thought it'd be a great idea to create a show about two struggling impressionists who create a 12-step program to stop doing impressions and become actors. So, and speaking of impressions, it's actually trended Twitter a couple of times with your, I believe it's your impressions video that had a montage of a lot of your impressions. Yes. What's your favorite impression to do? Man, I think of all time, it's got to be Angry Harrison Ford, because you can get into it. I mean, it's one of those, it's my subtle ones like McConaughey and Brad Pitt. They're very fun, and they're crowd pleasers for obvious reasons, with the ladies. And but I think Harrison Ford is one that you really have to use your whole body. Like Angry Harrison Ford, it's the finger and the face and getting in there right like this and chewy. And it's you have to really
dedicate your entire body to the impression, which I like.
All right, and how is this is your second Walker StalkerCon, right?
It is, yes.
How overall has been your experience this weekend?
Oh, they're wonderful. I mean, Dallas was my first, and I'd never been to a convention before as a fan or as a guest, so I didn't know what to expect, truthfully. And everyone is lovely. I mean, this fan base is extraordinarily loyal. They love all the characters, even the ones that are the villains, of course. David Morrissey's a huge fan favorite, and he's a sweetheart of a guy himself. And it's a great atmosphere. Everyone. I was a fan of the show since the beginning, so for me, it's fun to meet some of the people I didn't get a chance to work with, and just say, hey, I love your work. I wish we could have worked together, but even within that, like it's just fun, to meet these people. And Orlando's been fantastic to us. So.
All right, and the last question is going back to The Walking Dead a little bit. You've been now on the show for 2 seasons. Just have you gotten used to the Georgia heat yet?
No. The Georgia heat is continuing to pummel us. It doesn't help matters that where we are in the storyline in the timeline is it's still winter time. So I'm showing up to set every day with a thermal, a plaid long sleeve shirt, and then a poncho on top of that. So it's like, it's like a private sauna every day I show up, which is great because you tighten up, you lose weight. It's great. So from that respect, but it's very hot. But at the same time, it's also the most fun job everyone's ever had. Everyone says it on set. It's the most fun you could possibly have on a film or TV set.
Up next is Josh McDermitt, who is a talented stand-up comedian and actor, and he also plays Eugene. Now, Eugene got a little bit of pickle in the last episode and wasn't looking too well when we last saw him. Now, this interview with Josh I got back in around the same time I got Ross. Actually, it was, I believe, the same day or the day after. So this is between season 5 and 6. And unfortunately, due to time constraints with Josh, we only got one question. But here is the question and obviously his answer.
What is your favorite memory so far of working on The Walking Dead?
Oh gosh, I mean, it's really hard to narrow it down to one favorite memory, just because I feel like every time we go to work, there's a new favorite memory. But I think probably the best memory I had was when Norman licked me. He licked my hand once, and my hand was kind of gross, like just as it gets when you're shooting and stuff like that. But the moment he licked me, I was like, I made it. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm a part of the show now. And I think I was on the show this was at the end of last season, so I'd been on for like one full season. Like it took that long for Norman to lick me, but finally it happened.
Oh, did you? Is that why your hair is all sticky up now?
Yeah, my hair hasn't sat down since.
All right. Well,
my hair's got a boner. Sorry, there's children here.
All right. Well, thank you again.
Our last interview for today is going to be with Michael Cudlitz. Now, Michael Cudlitz was on the Dave and Creech Show. Obviously, he's been friends with Dave Sheridan for a couple years now. I've interacted with Michael a couple of times, but and I've gotten to know him a little bit more. Michael's a pretty great guy, I will definitely say, and it's interesting to see. Well, I mean, it's kind of like this with most of the cast, but they're very knowledgeable about the comics. So it's kind of going to be sad if Abraham is the one to go. Abraham was looking pretty defiant there during that lineup, so it's kind of anyone's game on who's going to die. So we hope it's not Michael. I mean, obviously you never... The thing that's... you realize once you think about it more is it's not just like, they're going off the show, yes, but they're losing a job. So that's kind of scary and sad. And all 4 of these people are just, some of the greatest people, and I'd hate to see any of them lose their job. So without further ado, here is Michael Cudlitz.
Hey, guys.
What's going on, Mike?
Good morning.
We got some fan questions. I was just going over them. Some of them are about penis size. I don't know if we should ask those. And then other
we
ones
can ask them.
like,
we can ask, but sometimes subjects are just too big to talk about in a room.
That's why we're doing a conference call, man. When you booked this show, did you have any idea of the type of show you were getting into in terms of this type of fan base, and that, did you know it involved sort of like these conventions? Did you know this was part of what you were getting into?
No, not at all. Not zero. I knew the show was popular. I was behind on the show. I was a fan of the show, but it was running at the same time. They would air at the same time we would go back to start shooting Southland. So I would always be, almost a full season behind, when I was watching. And then when I got hired, I was like a season plus 3 episodes behind. But had no idea any of this other stuff even existed. I've been pretty fortunate over the years, and I've worked a lot, and I've been on some pretty popular shows. And around that stuff, early on I was a construction coordinator and worked on Beverly Hills 90210. So I saw the kind of, intense fan stuff. But this is so beyond any of that. It's ridiculous. So beyond. There's no way you can really wrap your head around it unless you're in the middle of it.
Yeah, I can imagine, because there's definitely shows that have a fan base that would be popular at conventions, say like a Comic-Con, like let's say Flash. Flash has a big fan base, or Battlestar Galactica or something like that. But they don't have their own convention. They don't have their own convention. The only one that I can even think of is Star Trek. The original Star Trek had those Trekkies and had its own convention. You know what I mean? I can't really think of another show that inspired.
Well, my buddy's involved with the Supernatural show, and they actually have their own conventions as well.
Did you know that, Grace?
Pretty big.
I didn't know that, no. It's definitely understandable, though, since that show has had, 10, 11 seasons already?
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time.
Yep.
There's 3. Isn't there like 3 main people in that show, though?
There's 3. The brothers. Can't think of their last name, but the Eckel brothers, or the. No. I'm sure somewhere some fangirl's about to stab you in the face because I don't know the name of the brothers. The Jensen brothers, maybe.
All I know about Supernatural was that Jeffrey Dean Morgan played their dad, and of course now Jeffrey is also Negan.
Yeah, well, actually, maybe it's Jensen Ackles is the actor's name. I don't know. I'm sure I'm dying here. They're literally gonna sneak up behind me and murder me.
We can totally just alter the conversation and dub in a robot voice with the actual answer, maybe.
No, don't leave it that way, because they'll love it anyway. They'll make fun of me on Twitter. It'll be great.
When on the podcast, when I just mutilate names all the time, I'm terrible with names and stuff, and he just puts in the robot voice that just puts in, like, it's like the customer service telemarketer voice comes in and just says the right name. So.
Perfect.
So, obviously, Season 6 just concluded with a huge ending. So, Mike, what has been the feedback from the fans you've talked to about this last episode?
The feedback's interesting because it's mixed. The episode itself, I feel, is a tremendous episode. So far as character stuff, so far as, just the experience of watching it. But as a season ender, there was some frustration with the fans that they wanted the cliffhanger to be the reaction of the, what would the group do once one of us got killed, not the cliffhanger to be who got killed. And I can understand that, but it's interesting because the immediate reaction, although everybody, sort of was emotionally sort of strung up for the entire episode, because it really is, the whole episode really is just this noose slowly tightening until the very end, where there is literally no escape. Although they enjoyed that, there was frustration in the initial reaction, because everybody in their head was trying to figure out who was going to be killed, because they knew somebody was going to die. They'd heard the rumors that this is where we're headed. We really haven't killed anyone in a while on the show, so they really wanted to know what was going to happen and who was going to die. So, but what's been interesting is that even as early as the next morning, and definitely into yesterday afternoon, the reaction has sort of shifted, whereas people are pissed off about not knowing, but they still are realizing that the episode was a fantastic episode. Nobody wants to wait you know, 7 months to find out, you know, who got killed, if anyone got killed. You know, certainly not Enid, because she's still locked in the closet. So we're going to have to wait and see. But the reaction's been very emotional and strong, as we knew it would be, both with frustration and excitement. So.
Well, it's kind of funny just going back to the Saviors and the portrayal. You know, by the way, Creech is a fan of the comic book, and he reads the comic book. And I was familiar with the comic book before the show. But the moment I found out the comic book was ahead, and then there's this kind of like questioning of like, oh, you get to see what the show is going to do, but yet it doesn't completely follow that because there are other original characters that are in the TV show that aren't in the comic book. And to me, my frustration I was like, well, I'm not going to read this comic book because I just want to enjoy the show for the show versus always trying to compare it, going, well, in the comic book, well, this happened in the comic book. Yeah, she actually died before that in the comic. You know, it's like that gets really frustrating. But there's definitely a who shot JR moment that has now officially happened to the show. And there's been, you know, you can trace back, because we had a question of like, when does a show jump the shark and the whole, you know, because in this season there's been quite a bit of these moments of, you know, the one where they're trying to walk through Alexandria and they have the Judith baby, and this Judith baby becomes sort of this sort of, I wouldn't say, what's the word? Well, just like any baby. Hey, man, you have a baby in life, and it's, you know, all of a sudden it's like, oh, God damn, it's a fucking baby, you know? And like the same moment with the family, but it's like you have this moment of, you take the baby, go to the church, and it's sort of like on a production level, it's just on a creative writing and a production level, the baby becomes sort of an asset that you have to always mind and take care of, in a sense.
No, it's like a professional football player. You know, all these guys are worried about their stats. You know, everybody's playing their individual game, going for their contract. But when you get down to game day, the question is, where's the fucking ball? You know, right. And Baby Judith is the ball, and it's like. Where we always got to remember where we put the ball, you know, and because the audience is saying the whole time when they haven't seen her for a while, they're like, well, where's Baby Judith? You know, and we can only get away with not showing where she is for a certain amount of time, and then you have to go back and acknowledge it and say, what are we doing? But it's also a great storytelling tool because, you know, how can you redeem yourself more? Or how can you feel redemption more, or let the audience know that you are supposed to redeem somebody more than the lead of the show, the one that you've followed for, you know, fucking 6 years and are just like, you know, cry, bleed, weep, laugh, rejoice, mourn. You know, that guy hands over his baby to you and says, keep her safe. You know, you're like, okay, well, he trusts him. So no matter what my feelings are, you know, I have to trust him now too. You know, it's a great storytelling device, and it's a great way to reveal, elements of character development. And it's also a pain in the ass at times. So,
well, that is a good point. With sort of like if the baby is the chalice of some sort of aspect, it's like when he trusted Gabriel with the baby, he sort of passed the torch a little bit to Gabriel as if he's now a trusted member of the family. You know what I mean?
Well, that was the ultimate thing that showed he was forgiven.
Right.
You know, that's the ultimate. You know, it's like, I don't really trust you, but I'm going to give you my baby.
Right.
You know, that's like, no.
You mentioned the whole kind of interesting on the forgiveness level with someone like Rick, because Rick is this character living, you know, he really is somebody encompassing the sins still. You know what I'm saying? He's obviously the opposite of Morgan. You know what I'm saying? Where Morgan's like, hey, man, forgive the world. I think everything has something to offer in the world, blah, blah, blah. And Rick is still taking on this perception of, no, man, we got to kill everything. Yeah,
well, yeah, but, you know, after this week, you know, Morgan, you know, every life is precious, you know, maybe some lives are a little less precious.
Yeah. Hey, he eventually pulled the trigger back on that guy.
Yeah, a bunch of times. It wasn't. That's what I loved about that moment too, because it wasn't. It wasn't a sort of like a sniper shot, like boom, let's take this guy out. It was a venge-filled, attack on this guy, making sure he was never ever going to get up again. I mean, it was
right.
like that was a no fucking around, takedown. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't get to see what happened with the rosary because that guy had it in his hand. She had the rosary from back at that satellite TV station, wherever the hell it was, and sharpened it up to get out of the duct tape, and that kind of like Jesus saves sort of moment she made of the weapon, and then she was still continuing to carry it, and then he grabs it to track her down, and then, Morgan shoots him, so I just didn't see the rosary in his hand still, or where that's going to go, or, there's a bit of symbolism there, obviously.
Yeah. Well, redemption, and I mean, this, you can go on and on and on. It's one of those images, and the Jesus Father Son metaphor, and rising from the dead, coming back from the other side. It's strong, obviously, used through history. But I want to go back actually to what you were talking about with the graphic novel. I think Creech will agree on this. I don't think that reading the novel takes anything away. I think it actually enhances if you do it the right way, because you sort of know that there are two concurrent stories and two concurrent worlds that are made by the same creator. You basically have two, as a storyteller, you have two ways to tell the story. You have a chance to sort of go back and sort of say, what if? You've written the story one way, and this is what happened, and then, maybe you killed off a character, and then, 10 editions or issues later, you realize, I wonder what it would have been like to still have that character around. You can actually do that in the TV show and change it. So you're sort of following the same geographical map and the same blueprint of like where these groups go and the sort of incidents that sort of happen to them. But the specific character development and the specific character interaction can change. And it's literally like going through and being able to edit and re-edit or change your story after you've committed to one version of it. And I think if you follow it the right way, it can be, and you realize that they are not the same and don't expect them to be the same, I think you can get a lot out of it. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I definitely do. Like you just said with remixing events, the show did that in episode 14 of this season by giving Denise what was Abraham's death in the comics. Now, I've seen interviews where Robert Kirkman stated he really regretted killing Abraham off in the comics when he did. So with the show, he had the chance to right that wrong and changed it. And now Abraham continues to live.
Exactly, and he always said he didn't like the death he was given. So we get to change those things and move forward in a way that is satisfying, but also adds little Easter eggy things for people who do follow the graphic novels. There's a little something a little extra. We set up panels, or I should say we set up frames that resemble panels in the comic. And even if you don't specifically remember that thing, it's very familiar to you if you have read the graphic novels. And I think there's more of an intimacy, and it's kind of like a gift, a thank you, from Kirkman and from Scott Gimple, to those that have committed to both and those that are vested in both. And it doesn't take anything away from you if you haven't read it, but it just gives you something a little bit extra when you see an image like when Abraham's army entered. We pretty much replicated the cover of the graphic novel of when they were introduced. And if you don't know that, it's fine. It's still an image that you see, and you see us enter. But if you know the graphic novel, you get to go, oh, motherfucker, they just recreated it. It's cool. And you have this gift that is only for those who read the graphic novel. So I think it's cool. I think it's really, really cool what they're doing.
Sticking with just the graphic novel side and those frame recreations, and just when I was first introduced to your character on the show, and Eugene as well. And I'll tell you, obviously, the governor was a great character. Negan is a great character. But you guys really, to me, kind of embodied sort of, since I knew that it was coming from a graphic novel point of view, you guys sort of have this sort of Marvel comic universe world more than some of the other guys. Just with your vernacular, your body language, your hair, your whole.
Yep.
Even Negan pointed that out. He looked at your mustache and he went,
yeah,
I can't beat that. I'm going to need to shave this thing.
Yeah, I think that's Scott Gimple wanted to pull it closer to the comic in the sense of we knew we had a lot of these characters coming in. The largeness of Negan, the ridiculousness of these characters, and by ridiculousness I mean that the larger-than-life aspects of these characters, I think, allow us to sort of embody the whole zombie apocalypse element of it. I think if I was to give any kind of criticism to Fear the Walking Dead, that's what it would be. Is that it's not based on on a graphic novel, so the characters tend to be even more realistic, which I think makes the show much more serious, and serious in the sense that it's not an escape. It's almost like a what if. It's like, what if this were to happen? Where I think our show is lifted and elevated by these, even though Daryl was not in the graphic novel, but he's running around with a crossbow. Michonne has the swords. Yeah, Abraham has the hair and the mullet and all these things. There are these sort of larger-than-life elements that the characters have, but we play everything based in reality. So you're able to sort of live in both worlds and have these. We're able to have bigger events happen on our show than they are on their show because we have the characters that can round out that world and make it believable. And I think that's what they were trying to do, is really reminding themselves like, hey, we have some intense shit coming up, and we need to keep these characters big to be able to hold all of this stuff in.
Well, in your character particularly, you have this vernacular where you have these sort of catchphrases. I mean, It seems like every week there's something that can be printed on a meme or a T-shirt. You know what I'm saying? If this is back in the old Mork for Mork Fonzie days, I'm sure if you go down to Venice Beach, there's got to be T-shirts of you with the Mother Dick sayings and all these other things.
Yeah.
Is all of that in the script, or is any of that coming from Michael?
Yeah, no, it's all in the script in the sense that we go through stuff, and when I get a script, we'll talk about it. And if there's something that I think is, we work together on. If I say I think we can do more here, or you guys are, you're pushing it, but I think you could push it further. And usually the answer is yeah, we know, we're working on it. We had a couple other versions, but we have to get this out, and we're, because a lot of it has to do with, not network approval, but pushing that line so far, and just making sure that they can get away with it. Like the line 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when I said, you know how to bite a dick. It's like Scott knew he wanted to use you know how to bite a dick. But he was like, okay, we got to get a couple of different versions just in case they don't let us use that. And there was some funny shit, but there's nothing funnier than you know how to bite a dick. In that serious moment, it's so serious, but it's so on the nose. We got to calling it the sauce. Scott would say, I think we could use some more sauce here. And I was like, absolutely, because the elements of the scene wouldn't change, but the verbiage of it would change. And we would, the goat rodeo line back in season 5, episode 5. I've been to 3 goat rodeos, wherever the hell it was, 2 county fairs, the goat rodeo, and something else. But we kept going through all these different things, and we were trying to infer his travels with the war, So I've been to. Whatever. I walked the desert with the Bedouins and all that. It changed it through a series of rewrites and events. So it's kind of crystallizing it down to that shortest, most poignant 1-2 punch you can get. Because when in the end it's TV, and you gotta it's fast. So you gotta get it out there. And anything too long becomes like you're trying for the joke, not sort of staying in the reality of Abraham trying to move through life. So, yeah, it's all them, though.
Right, and we're going to get to some fan questions in a minute. I just wanted to circle back to the actual episode that we ended on just now. One last thing about that, because obviously we know you're not going to tell us who got killed, obviously, but it was shot from a POV. So the two things you mentioned, how in the graphic novel, your character, he wasn't happy with, I didn't like how Abraham died in that graphic novel. Now I get a better way to do it. Well, somebody got killed here by Negan, presumably, and it's from a POV shot. However, if let's just say it's you, let's say it's Glenn, let's say it's Eugene or Daryl, whoever it is. Obviously, now, do you feel like when we come back to the next season, we're going to see the brutality of this kill, or do you think it's just we're not going to see the thing? Because it seems like whatever character got killed from your group, it's a major character, because that's everyone that got in that RV was fairly a major established character.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that there has to be some brutality to whatever is going on there, because the idea is that, Negan is hated. Negan has to be hated. And I think that if one of us gets killed, whoever gets killed, if the idea is that that's why we're supposed to believe him, I think if the characters themselves see it only, and the audience doesn't see it, then the characters are ahead of the audience. So I think the audience has to see whatever has happened in order to have that satisfaction, and also to be able to, if you want to be pissed at somebody, you gotta see him kill the baby.
Right. I mean, Negan was obviously, this was his message. Hey, I'm going to kill one of your guys, with Lucille here. This is my message to you. So therefore, the audience needs to see that message the same way he got you guys on your knees to watch this message. And now, obviously, when you go and shoot a TV show, you got everyone out there. Is this something they already filmed? Do you already know who's dead, or did they leave you as the actor with a cliffhanger as well?
We basically know what you guys know.
Oh gosh. So one actor went on hiatus. All actors. You guys are all went on a hiatus, going like, "Do I have one more episode left when I come back?" Is that what you're telling me, Mike?
Yeah, pretty much. Somebody, there's someone floating around out there that knows or doesn't know, or is waiting on a call. Or maybe not. Maybe it was I don't know. Maybe it was one of his guys.
Well, that was my thing. Was who's the blonde guy with the Creech? What's that character's name? He's kind of a buffoon that has screwed it up so many times, and his face is he's got the burn now in his face. What was that guy's name?
You're thinking of Dwight.
Dwight. In my mind, I just caught that as Dwight, because he's almost Dwight, kind of this comical, he's like he's sort of the sidekick guy that keeps getting screwed up. You know what I mean? So, it could be Dwight. You never know.
Yep.
While we're still talking about the finale, I do have to ask this. When you first read the script for episode 16 and saw that Abraham was going to have to be on his knees again, did you start having flashbacks to that episode in season 5?
That was the finale knees part was brutal. It was brutal for all of us. That was 2 nights of all darkness hours. So probably 10 hours of darkness. All of us on our knees for that entire time, and it was freezing cold. That was way more brutal than being on my knees for the 4 hours I was on my knees in the burning sun on the road. Way more brutal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there was one moment where Negan said something, but you could see his breath come out. You knew it. I knew it was cold, and obviously it was wet and stuff.
Yep.
When did you guys film that? Was that in, say,
it would have been, we wrap up the end of November, so that would have been, that would have been mid to end November. Would have been like the 15th or something.
Right. Yeah,
and it gets cold. It gets cold in Atlanta in the winter. It's as hot as it gets during the summer. it gets cold.
Yeah, it seems like Atlanta doesn't have a middle temperature. That's for sure.
No, it's not. It's like hell. It's like hell hot, or Antarctic cold.
Well, and that leads us to a good segue into one of our fan questions, which comes from Cudlitz Love. That's her real name. That is her real name. I believe it's
that's
Jessica.
her real name. That's her birth name, or is it a him?
Yeah, she's later changed it to Jessica Creech. It's Jessica, right?
Yeah, it's Jessica.
And then, so she asked a pretty insightful question here, which goes directly to what you were just saying. Speaking to your character Abraham, has there ever been anything that your character's done in the show that A, has surprised you, but also that you haven't agreed with? And if you didn't agree with it, have you had conversations, or is it the kind of thing where it's like, this is what my character is doing, and I'm going to go do it? But obviously, this season, your character went through a little bit of a relationship change, and it was sort of abrupt. I know you must have heard it from some fans.
Yeah. No, I always I always laugh because I've been on sets where people say, actors have said things like, "Oh, my character wouldn't say that," or "My character wouldn't do that." I look back down at the script and I go, "No, man, it says right here your name, and then you do that." So your character does say that, and the people who write your character on a weekly basis seem to believe that that's what you said. So why don't you just try saying it first, and maybe figure out how you would say that, as opposed to saying you wouldn't say that. I don't write the shows. I'm paid to act in the shows. I certainly have opinions on things that we can maybe drift into, or maybe this could be done more subtly, or hey, what do you guys think about this, or what did you mean by that? But I'm not paid to disagree with what my character is. People are paid to write it. I'm paid to act it. I find it more challenging to figure out how I would do something if I sort of don't initially agree with it. How do I make it so it works? That's my job. But I really respect Scott Gimple as a storyteller. And he's sort of earned the trust in that way. So when I see things that are sort of extraordinary that I might be doing, on a week-to-week basis, I tend to just jump in and trust him. So yeah, no, I haven't disagreed with any of it. Actually, I've loved what they've done so far, and so everything that I've heard, I love where they're continuing.
Next question is from Carl Williams. As we know, there's only one way that a major ensemble character usually leaves the show, and that's through death. If one of your current castmates' characters were to bite the big one, which death do you think would impact Abraham the most? Also, on top of that, which would affect you the most as a fellow actor and fan of the show?
That's, to me, whenever somebody talks about other people dying on the show, I always go, oh, man, like, that sucks, because that guy just, he's not on the show anymore. He's a working actor. Yeah. I'm like, oh.
I mourned the Herschel death. I think Scott Wilson was amazing as Herschel, and I mourned that death. Right now, my two favorite characters in the show have always been Glenn and Carol. Mm-hmm. And so to see either one of those guys go would be hard for me. I think for Abraham, it'd be any of his core group, including Rosita, but now Sasha, so Sasha, Rosita, or Eugene. I think for the audience to get over right now, it would be a pretty brutal to have Maggie die because she's pregnant. If they were to have them both die, that would be just sort of like, that'd be like, what are you doing? Or baby Judith, she's like the golden one. It's like, there's certain things that I think the audience would have trouble wrapping their heads around depending upon how it happened. I think they've done a good job making everybody care about everybody. So any loss right now would be pretty brutal.
And by the way, because both you guys obviously watch the show. Correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe I didn't catch this, but were they insinuating that the lady when they took Maggie into the one room and tried to where's your location? Was she basically kidney punching her and sort of beating up the baby? Is that what they were insinuating there? Because she had the bruises on her body. On the back.
I don't remember specifically if the bruises came. Was she kicked on the ground?
Got it.
I don't remember who kicked her, and when that happened. I think once they found out she was pregnant, actually, that was a weapon, like a tool or a weapon that Carol used.
Got it.
And they kind of took it easier on her.
Right.
And especially when she was the girl that was with her when she got separated was trying to, was not torturing her. I don't believe in that way, other than just asking. But I don't remember specifically where that came. But I think it was before they knew she was pregnant, or the guy actually.
Yeah, she got kicked in that room, and then when they took her away, I think the idea was they were like, "That's one of our best interrogators," and she's going to beat the shit out of Maggie. But yet then the reveal was that she lost the baby too. It was like all of a sudden there was this sort of bonding of they were mirrored images of sitting across from each other. She was the Maggie in a weird way of that group, the same way that the secretary was the Carol of that group. So.
Yep, exactly. And they were both. I think the idea is that everybody one-on-one. We have more similarities than differences. It's just the circumstances of this new world has made it so that we have had to make different choices to survive. It's
right.
very much like you take modern day comparison would be you go to a place like Prague, the Czech Republic, and you see all these older pensioners who have lost everything because they went from communism to a more sort of socialist republic and or democratic republic, and they have actually, because they chose to not die under communism and try to provide for their families in some way, they chose to just survive, and surviving meant to just exist, but they were supposed to get a pension and all this other stuff. And then when the revolution came, the younger generations are in much better shape, but there's this whole sort of disenfranchised group, the older group, that is just left with nothing. And you look at these guys with the saviors, they have decided that that's the only way that they can survive. So, how can you blame them, really? People are just trying to survive, and they're doing the best that they can. Nobody has started out, none of these bad guys have started out being, quote, bad guys. They've just started out with a vision of what their future would be like, and things evolved. The Terminus guys didn't start out as bad guys. They were just like, well, if we don't do this, we'll get killed. You're either the food, or the cattle, or the rancher, and the governor started out trying to be cool, but he was obviously a psychopath. But he was just trying to protect people. All of the bad guys that we've come in contact with didn't start out as bad guys. And I always point out, if we were to come across our own group, we'd kill them because we're fucking lunatics.
Well, that's what I was always saying the whole time. Like, the saviors must have thought you guys were crazy, because it's like, the first time we knew them, they completely blow us up. Like there's nothing left of buddy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, we blew up a bunch of guys on the road, and we attacked one of your outposts and basically murdered everybody in their sleep. I mean, there's not. It's like, okay, I think we found our equal.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, up until last night, even though they seemed very well organized with the walkie-talkies and the code words and the handles and stuff like that, they were kind of buffoonery, because every time you came up against them, you guys sort of wiped their ass a little bit. You know what I mean? It was always them running. So it's sort of like, what the heck is this? And so, but at the same time, last night proved that they are the numbers that they have, the organization that they have, the machinery that they have. So it's, and I just love that Andrew's look of just total. He looked like Hitler coming out of the bunker. You know what I'm saying? When
he's broken.
Yeah, he's
broken.
The next question we have is from Teresa Parrish. She says, Abraham always has the best one-liners on the show. Upon reading the scripts for the first time, what is your initial reaction to these Abrahamisms?
Oh, I just laugh. And I go, oh, really? Thank you. Really? I get to say this? I mean, I love it. They treat me really, really well. I love it. Dave knows when you read those gems, man, you can hear it in your head, and you hear what you hope it's going to be, And then a lot of times it gets elevated even beyond that because of the circumstances on set. So, I love it.
Now, speaking of your one-liners, I just wanted to add, I think it's awesome how you were able to turn one of the more recent fan favorite ones about Bisquick into a charity event through the Bisquick Challenge at Walker StalkerCon.
Yep. Yeah, we had some people come in and say that they, on Twitter were like, hey, we're going to bring you Bisquick now after that line. Initially my thought was, oh, boy, how am I going to get all that home, or what am I going to do with it? And then I realized I don't have to get it home. We can give it to local charities, local food banks in all the cities that we go to. And so I basically put out a call and said, you know what, bring the Bisquick. Actually turn it into a challenge. And I contacted General Mills. I challenged them, and they actually stepped up. In the first one, they sent us 1,000 boxes, and
oh my goodness!
Now they're gonna, it was awesome, 2 pallets, and now they're gonna, at every one of our conventions, they send us a few hundred boxes to kind of seed the pot, and we're gonna hopefully evolve this into a big charity event, and it'll get bigger and bigger at every city we go to for food drives, and we're gonna make a difference.
I'm just glad it's actual Bisquick and not like,
not Bisquick.
A sperm, you know what I mean? Like, it's like when Creech just said the Bisquick challenge, I'm like, wait, guys are like, jizzing in the cups and bringing them to no, man, I'm bringing the Bisquick.
Yeah.
No, but that's awesome. So now that is definitely something you never saw coming. You know what I mean? Like a year ago, you would not say, hey, wait a second, one line, this really funny line is going to turn into this, a charitable thing that all of a sudden General Mills is involved with. You know what I mean? That's crazy. So, you never know where the world will go.
Ever.
Yeah.
Next question is from Samantha Bowman, and she wants to know how you were welcomed into the Walking Dead family on your first day on set.
Oh, it was great, honestly. Look, when you come to set, it's always like the first day of school. You're nervous. You don't know what to expect. This is the number one show in the world, and you're coming under these established people's work environment, and you don't know what to expect. You hope for the best, and a lot of times you're disappointed, typically. And this is not the case. These guys were wonderfully welcoming. Andrew had sent me an email prior to me showing up and said, hey, if you need anything, let me know. We're all here for you. And I was sort of like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm sure that's not really what's going on, but okay, nice, good for him reaching out. That was cool. And then I showed up on set and realized, no, it was straight up honest, cool people, a lot of love, a lot of support. We are all we have out there. Most of us have traveled long distances to go work out in Atlanta, and Atlanta's not some far away, fucking planet or anything, but it's compared to Hollywood and New York, it's pretty separated from the TV industry and the film industry. There are no distractions. You don't get pulled away for interviews all the time. It's very much focused on the work, but you are separated from your families, and because of that, you all have this common bond of being on location, even though it is for 7 months. We do dip in and out in between, but could not have been nicer. Could not have been more welcoming. It's an awesome situation.
Well, that sounds like a pretty awesome situation. Hey, you got any more questions for Michael before we let him go, Dave?
Oh, well, here's the thing. It's just obviously one of the the two big aspects from this season was, moving on from Rosita, you're dating Sasha, and then you also you've kind of butted heads with Eugene. You know what I mean? And somebody asked, you and Eugene have what you would describe as a bromance, and do you foresee you guys sort of mending things in the next season and sort of teaming up again? And you kind of did that. Obviously,
I mean, I think the question
I think was sent before they saw the episode.
Before, exactly. So, I mean, the answer to but so they don't feel like they're left out. The question is, and obviously, there's a strong connection there. Even when he was pissed off at him, when he wanted to kill him, he wouldn't, kill him in quotes. Again, he wanted to kill him like a brother wants to kill another brother. He wanted to go drink the water out of those bottles to test it, as it were, and Abraham smacked the water out of his hand. So he feels this deep-seated need to protect Eugene for whatever reason. And there's a really big connection there. So, and we're going to explore that more as we move forward.
Unless somebody got the end of the bat, Lucille. Oh boy. I mean, hey, look, man, they got that RV really quick. But I guess you guys were walking through the woods for a while. But it seemed to me like, you told them, like, hey, keep driving, drive around. Next thing you know, the guy. I'm just worried that does anyone here in this conversation have any kind of? Is there any question that Eugene did not turn on these guys, right? He didn't turn himself in, right? I mean,
I don't know. We'll have to see. He's a survivor, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, he's a scientific survivor. Even though he lied about being a doctor, he is still very smart, obviously, and he does rationalize his decisions through, mathematics of statistics. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So,
yep.
He might have.
I don't know.
Said,
maybe, yeah. They may have caught him and they said, we're going to kill you. And he may have said, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he would have done that, but I don't know.
He realized I only have so much gas, so let me, how he gave that saying to, think about this. He could make bullets. If you can make bullets, you can make a bomb. They left him with some gas. Maybe he said, if I turn this vehicle into a bomb and I bring it like a Trojan horse to them, and then basically something can happen here. I mean, they got to get out of it somehow. Anyway, right? I mean, unless they kill the person and let them go, I guess.
Yeah, no, we'll see. It's all wonderful speculation.
Oh, yes, it is. It's just speculation, folks. I'm not trying to get Mike to tell us anything. Come on, Mike, tell us. All right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man, have a great time at the con again, and
awesome.
Hey guys, this is CJ Creech here from the Dave and Creech Show, and I just want to talk to you about something really quick. What you're listening to in the background is the song Go from Jordan Woods Robinson. Now, Jordan Woods Robinson plays Eric on The Walking Dead and is about to be in the new season of Nashville, but he has got his first and now obviously newest album coming out this month called Anthem. Anthem is phenomenal. I've gotten a chance to listen to it, and it's beyond comprehension how amazing this CD is, especially for a first CD. It creates an indie folk rock vibe similar to Mumford & Sons, Lumineers, and Arcade Fire, and is an album filled with emotional vocals, pulsing guitars, rock violins, and even a bit of electric cello. Once again, it's beyond words how amazing this is, and as you're listening to the song in the background, there is even more like that. It's definitely something you should check out. Now, the CD is coming out October 28th, which you can also purchase it online. You can go to Jordan Woods Robinson's site to find out more info on that. But if you happen to be in Atlanta, October 28th, there is an official CD release party going down where he will be performing his songs from this album live. There's even a couple of special guests from The Walking Dead that's going to be there, so you should definitely go and check that out. Once again, this is Jordan Woods Robinson. Check out his newest and first complete album, Anthem. It is a must listen. Guys, we hope you enjoyed those interviews. Before we end this special Walking Dead podcast today, we're going to play an excerpt from our Walking Dead Wrap-Up. Now, if you haven't listened to this podcast before, obviously we do celebrity interviews as well, but we also do a wrap-up during the Walking Dead season. It's me and Alyssa Mullan. Now, Alyssa has been a walker in multiple episodes of The Walking Dead. Most recently, she was one of the walkers in Terminus. She got killed by Rick. So, she has definitely a different look than I do, who's never been on the show, when it comes to reviewing the show. And she's very knowledgeable about the product. She's a fan of the comics as well. So we get together every week during The Walking Dead, and we chat what we think's going to happen. We chat about what happened, and we also chat about who we think's going to die. We have death pools and this and all that. So what we're going to play today. This was one of the special times we did it over the summer, because when The Walking Dead is not on, if there's something important comes up, like a trailer, which Comic-Con had just happened, and we were going over the trailer for that, what we will do is we'll have a special episode of The Walking Dead Wrap-Up and chat what we thought about it. So this is not only our chat about certain aspects of the trailer, but this is our official death pool predictions. Now, obviously, you'll find out tonight if either me or Alyssa was right, and, the winner gets the spoils this coming week on The Walking Dead Wrap-Up's official return. So, we're mere hours away, so I hope you enjoy listening to this stuff, and then crying your hearts out as basically one character's world, or more characters, you don't know, comes crashing down right onto their head, courtesy of that barbed wire bat, Lucille.
This is all connected. You show up, and now 3 of us are gone.
Why'd you bring us here?
This was the thing that took the whole county.
The trailer that premiered at the San Diego Comic-Con, and one of my feelings about that was, going in, we knew that they weren't going to address that, but I'm actually majorly impressed with how they handled it anyway, because I was expecting a lot less than what they gave. And at the same point, I feel like this is one of the most honest trailers they've done, because there doesn't seem to be any fake red herring angles that they were trying to push you towards.
That's true. We talked about that in the past, right?
Because the previous Comic-Con trailers, Gareth leading them to DC and Rick facing off with Morgan. This one, it seems, I guess their catch, they didn't need to do that because their catch was already, you don't know who Negan killed.
Well, it's such an impactful moment that I don't think they need to play any more games with us. And so I think we deserved a straightforward, this is it. We can't, mince words with what's going on in this situation. It just is what it is, and it really sucks. And so I watched it again, and it's here's everybody's memories, giving us all the feels. I'm oh, real nice. They're such jerks sometimes.
But and critically, because, I watch it as a fan, and then watch it to dissect a little bit. It really, that first part when it's just the bat and just the flashing of moments, it really also highlighted a negative part, or a criticism of The Walking Dead, in my opinion, that just some of those characters were clearly just not really fleshed out at all. I mean, when you see, for instance, Rosita, the 3 scenes were throwaway scenes. It really wasn't memorable at all. Since obviously she's been an afterthought through most of the show, and pretty much the same for Aaron. When I think the main things they showed was from 2 episodes in season 5, nothing from season 6.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You're just it just highlights that not everybody has been focused on it as well as some of the others. I mean, even, seeing Eugene and then they at least had stuff, but, Aaron's been in the background. Eric's been practically non-existent. And, Rosita
he needs to come on screen.
Yeah, out of Rosita Abraham and
Eugene, like Rosita's barely been on the show.
Yeah, I know,
trio.
like, there's been some times where, like, I've been talking to somebody about it, and I'm, like, listing off the people. They're like, well, who do you think is going to get it? And so I go through each character and explain why I don't think they're going to. And sometimes I honestly, like, forget that she's in there.
Right.
You know, like, I'm just like, there's a huge, long line of people, and she's just kind of, I mean, maybe that's her advantage, though, her blending in. Maybe she just will get off that way. You know, just blend into the background. Nobody sees me.
Like, if it were to be Rosita, that would be the biggest letdown.
Exactly. Yeah, everybody would be like, okay, so, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Rosita, but she just, like you said, she just has not been given enough screen time. And I feel like her character does kind of deserve some of that development. But at this point in the game, if she went, I don't think most fans would really be, like, heartbroken. It wouldn't give the effect that they're going for and that moment gives. So, yeah. And I've been trying to, like, not think of it this summer, you know, because, like, I don't know. I just, like, I find myself, it takes longer because it already feels like it's stretched out. And then when I start to, like, think about it more, it just takes longer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's been a rough, what has it been, 8 months? No, not 8 months, like 6 months. It just feels like 8 months. And then the thing that I find the weirdest about that is, like, I feel like they missed an opportunity this past season while it was still fresh, because obviously Tara and the doctor were in a relationship, and the whole, should I tell her I love her or no, I'm going to wait till she gets back, and then the doctor dies. And then, there's that emotional loss,
really
and Tara doesn't even know yet. But there was no follow-up on that at that point. And I feel like by the time that it's revealed to Tara, it's not going to be as emotional, since now we've long forgotten about that. We're already probably going to still be reeling from the Lucille victim to really care. Like, it's Tara. We just lost so-and-so. Who cares? She's been dead forever ago.
Mean, Tara, if she finds out about that and then finds out someone got, had their head bashed in, she might even forget about Denise.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it seems kind of like, I don't know, they're both kind of gruesome, but being Lucille is the ultimate in gruesome.
Yeah, and I know I've read on some sites that it might not just be one person getting Lucille'd. They might have done two.
I saw that too.
And they also shot multiple victims, which is also interesting. Even though I'm pretty sure
I have a question though. I have a question. Do you think they will show said character getting their head bashed in? Like, do you think they'll get graphic with it, or will it just be like we just see like Negan swinging and then like what we saw in the trailer, the blood with, the blood dripping off the bat? Is that like all we're gonna see? Because I don't want to get like.
I think they're gonna.
I don't want to be like super weird about it, but like in the comic, it was more like, oh my god, you turn the page and it's just that picture where you just see what is left.
From what I've read, like with interviews with like Nicotero and stuff, they're going for it. They're gonna show it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's
they said
awesome
that they're
and
gonna.
Sad. I don't know. Like this is an actor basically like losing their job. So part of me feels bad being excited about it, but that's what they went to work every day and they're proud of it. So I'm proud to watch it. And take pleasure in it.
Yeah, and at the same point, what a way to go.
Right, no kidding. By the most notorious bad guy in Walking Dead history so far.
Yeah, and without a doubt, probably so far and probably until the end of the show will probably be the most iconic death of anybody.
Right, yeah. Because that was like, we've had people die, but that was, what made it so iconic? Like, because there had been people that died before, but what about this one made it so, one that stuck with people? Was it just because it was Glenn who was like, had been there from the start? Or, you know, sometimes I just question these things.
I think it being as major a character as Glenn was, plus with the whole unborn child just kind of, and basically the unborn child and them actually having to watch, I just think it was a lot that combined it to that one thing. Plus it was the introduction. Like, I mean, with the governor, you had this whole, you know, oh, well, he might be good for a couple of issues, you think, you know, because he's all nice,
right.
And then you find out very quickly he's not when he chops Rick's hand off. But, like, Negan just came in, and they really had nothing to do with Negan before that. I mean, that was he'd been mentioned and everything, but it's his first appearance, and he just, you know, it makes an impact. And killing, he literally belittles and humbles the main person of the comic in his first appearance and kills one of their people.
Right.
I think that's
no
probably
fear.
Yeah.
And in the show, it's like 10 times worse on Rick's part because they killed a lot of his men. Like, I don't remember them killing nearly as many of his men in the comic. I mean, I think they had a run-in with a group, like, on the road, didn't they, in the comic? But, like, this one, they, like, seeked them out and were like, we're going to just kill them all and just take care of it. So it's like, you don't want to agree with Negan, but then when you hear him talk, you're like, okay, Rick, well, he does kind of have a point. Like, this moment sucks, but I hate to agree with the guy, but you did kind of screw this up, and you put us here.
It's like this meme somebody did. It had a picture from the season 4 finale, and, you know, Rick saying they're screwing with the wrong people. And then there's a picture of Rick kneeling from season 6 finale, and it's like, you know, they screwed with the wrong people.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I guess it was bound to come around sometime.
Yeah.
He's getting too confident, and we all know that when you get too confident, you got to get kicked down a little bit.
Yeah.
And boy, what a way. I mean,
yeah,
Jesus.
He definitely got knocked down a peg.
Yeah, no kidding. That will be interesting to see Rick's reaction, because I think he's just got that leader mentality. So to have to, like, be submissive, that's going to be, like, an interesting dynamic to see Andrew Lincoln play as Rick. So, for all the characters, because it's all just going to change so much. I think all of our characters, from whoever dies, are just going to change who they are completely.
I feel like this season there's going to be a lot of deaths, because there really wasn't that many main character deaths last year. I mean, your death pool was pretty much on the mark. Mine was kind of way off.
Well, a lot of our, you know, we had a lot of our core family, you know, the characters were pretty safe.
Yeah,
I mean, some of the people we lost were fairly new. I mean, Noah was fairly new.
Deanna was fairly new. Jesse, unfortunately, was fairly new. The rest of her family.
Right. So our other ones have been essentially, I mean, untouched in that department, the death department.
Daryl. Super Daryl.
Hey, he's on my list of possibilities. He really is. So he's not totally, I mean, I don't think he's invincible anymore.
Oh,
at least I hope not. If they don't, if they still keep Daryl and, like, continue to have him be how he is, where he's just untouchable, I'll be like, okay, this is getting ridiculous now.
Yeah, I'm like 99.9% sure it's not Daryl.
That would spice it up. I don't think they'll make it Glenn. But would they put this big hiatus, you know, cliffhanger just to give us Glenn, who we knew it was going to be? You know? Yeah, I don't know. But then that's where your theory comes in that you heard, where it might be two people. Well, that would make the wait totally worth it in a sense, because that we would not be expecting that.
Yeah, and that's where I think that theory that the cast has been thrown out, that it could be more than one person, possibly two. I feel like it's going to be Glenn and Abraham, and the reason being, because at first when I saw the original, the final episode, that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, so it's got to be Glenn or Abraham. I think it's just going to be both of them, because I think, once again, that Glenn's death in the comics was so iconic that to not give Glenn that death would probably be a disservice to him, because that's probably the most iconic way to go. But at the same point, when Negan's, basically gloating to everybody, having fun pointing the bat at everybody, the only one who, as soon as he's pointed the bat at Abraham, straightens up, almost in a challenging way. And I feel like Negan probably noticed that. So I think that he's going to, realize, obviously, this guy is trying to challenge me when I basically have
and like he said, he wants them working for him. So I'm sure when Abraham did that, he thought, well, look at that quality. He's willing to risk it all. That's his kind of mentality. But, Negan doesn't want a martyr. He doesn't want somebody that's willing to go. He wants to break the group. So he's going to take somebody who, and with Glenn doing that little outburst when he was talking to Maggie, Negan picked up on that. He knows, wow, look at these two. These two are together. He knows how to tear them down. And, yeah, I get what you're saying about Glenn, though. I really do. I think it should be Glenn. So, I hope it is. That sounds so bad. I hope it is, and I hope it isn't. That makes any sense. I just don't know what I want, CJ.
Yeah, no, I agree, because I feel like, like I said, Glenn, I believe, as messed up and as graphic and as bad as his death's going to be, I feel like Steven Yeun deserves that for the character, just the iconic moment for him to go out on, since he's done such an amazing job as Glenn. And at the same point,
and it propels Lauren's, Maggie forward in a totally different way. So, I hate to say that it benefits, you know what I mean? But it, pushes other people's characters' stories further, than they normally would be. And like I said earlier, I think it changes everyone. I think we're going to see our characters in a different way. Because I think they're just going to be changed in a significant way.
And this is where I kind of get hesitant on my Abraham choice, because granted, I feel like Negan sees that Abraham's already, even in the face of things, challenging him to do it to him. So he, if he's looking at okay, this guy's challenging me when I basically have them here with nothing else to lose, so why should I keep him on here when he's probably just going to try to do it, challenge me or kill me, some other way. But I feel like the one thing I worry about, if they do in fact either it's just Abraham or if they kill Glenn and Abraham, I feel like one of the problems that I'm hoping we don't run into is another half-season arc of Sasha grieving, because poor Sasha and her love choices.
Yeah.
She just got over Bob and Tyrese. She was starting to get into a good place with Abraham, and then just to have that taken away too, I don't want to see her go crazy again and suffer from more PTSD.
Right. But then again, with the Abraham choice, if it was just one person, and that person was Abraham, do you really think of all the characters? They'd all be impacted, yeah, but not in the same way that if it were Glenn. I don't know. I think if it were Abraham, it totally would just kind of, we were talking with Rosita, it'd kind of be like a letdown where I'd be like, okay, Abraham, no, why? Not good enough for me.
I think there's two that would be impactful if Negan shows. Obviously, Glenn being the first one. And honestly, I think if he picked Michonne, that would be another impactful one.
Yeah, she was my third. I had 3 people. I had Daryl, Glenn, or Michonne. So.
Because Daryl's only going to really affect fan girls.
Right. Well, I'd still be sad, like, I remember Daryl, back in the day.
We already ruled out Carl because...
Right.
And Rick, because of in the speech where he's like, cut the boy's eyes out and feed it to his father.
Right. And Rick's like the driving force of it. The whole story started with him. So they instantly have immunity.
Yeah, then we can rule out Rosita because they haven't done nothing with her. That would be the biggest throwaway death.
Well,
and honestly, I
Eugene,
can say we can do
too.
Aaron as well.
Yeah.
But at least Eugene had that moment at the end.
Right.
With Abraham on the most recent episode. So at least there was some closure if anything were to happen with him. But I don't,
and that's another thing. Yeah, and that's another thing. Eugene just gaining some confidence, starting to be like, yeah, Abraham, I took your advice. I'm getting tougher, like I'm learning how to survive. I want to do this. And it's like, here comes Negan, get on your knees, bitch. Like that really sucks too. Poor Eugene. Such a frightened lad.
It's the wrong time to stand up.
Right, and he failed instantly, right? I mean, it was the time that Rick and them left with Maggie on that whatever it was. To the time they got caught, I mean, Eugene, what did he drive? Halfway down the road, and they just got in. What? You didn't defend it?
Right.
But then there was a lot of people. But it was just funny that in that short amount of time that he was, that his plan was foiled.
Exactly. And I think with Eugene, with Eugene and a lot of them, and there's still a lot of story that can be told. I would say that Maggie would also probably be an impactful death, but I know they're not going to go that route because that, even just saying it, killing a pregnant female with a bat, that's just...
Right.
I know AMC and The Walking Dead is not afraid to go to places, but that's one place I don't think they're even going to even attempt to touch.
Well, and we know that they shy away from that because we still have Judas.
Yeah.
I mean, I still question that, but that's the same type of thing. So, yeah, I mean, I thought of that too, but that'd be interesting to see where Glenn would go. The whole group, especially Glenn, but the whole group would go if Maggie was the one. Yeah. I mean, because that would be a big symbol of hope, she's pregnant, all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. So that the group would be crushed, man.
Oh, yeah. Plus, poor Enid still locked in that closet.
Hey, I saw in the trailer that she was out of that closet. So,
yeah, she's finally out now.
She gets out eventually.
I'm actually really excited for this season, partly because I know, this is the season of, most of my friends are getting on the show, because I've got a lot of friends who are going to show up in the show this year.
As what?
Well, some are going to be walkers, and then I know a couple that are actually, one of my friends, we're actually going to bring him on the show the week his episode airs. Obviously I can't name names because I don't want to get him in trouble, but he has a couple scenes with Negan. He's a savior. And,
that's fun. I've been itching to get back there too. It's been a while. I've been long forgotten. I don't even know if I'd get back. If I emailed them, I don't even know if I'd hear anything back at this point. So many new people roll through there.
Oh, yeah. I've noticed that this year, for sure, because like I said, a lot of my friends got, Walker rolls. And most of them were obviously like Georgia locals, but then there's some that weren't, and like they got in this year, and they've been trying for years. So I don't know if there was a random dry up of walkers, because I know some of the usual suspects are still, there.
Right.
But a lot of the older names that have been around for the career walkers, it seems like, that were like 1, 2, 3, 4, like they're not back now. This has been the year of the new people apparently coming into the show.
Right. Well, you got, Negan making his grand entrance. I guess it's time for a little refresher in every department, probably.
I still don't believe that whole thing that, I know we kind of jumped back and forth on this, but like I still don't believe the whole thing that they went around saying that nobody, even Jeffrey Dean, didn't know who was going to die in the finale. I feel like they knew then what it was going to be.
Like when? Well, oh yeah, because I'd heard, I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan said that no one knew until they got the script for season 7, episode 1. But it's like, but then I've heard Norman say that he knew. So, I mean, I don't know who to believe.
Yeah, I seriously doubt that they, especially for the person who actually died, or people, what have you, I feel like they didn't not tell them for the whole 4 or 5 months before shooting. It's like, hey, okay, we need you to come. Yeah, we're gonna need you to come fly over here. And then when they get there, like, all right, we're ready to start season 7. Excited to be back with the cast. Like, oh well, by the way, you're dying in the first episode.
Yeah.
First couple
I mean, but they are kind of known for their.
They did do that to Emily Kinney, yes.
Yeah, because she was trying to find an apartment, I think, and they were like, oh, by the way, don't do that.
They They told Irony 4 days before they shot it that he was dying, that T-Dog was dying. Because originally it was going to be Carol dying.
Oh my gosh, so glad they didn't do that.
But yeah, they switched it at the last moment and had him die, saving her.
I'm glad I got to work with him on the prison set before his untimely death. He's so sweet, too.
What were you one of the walkers when they were clearing out the prison?
I was in 4. 4 is when all hell breaks loose.
Yes, I was trying to figure it out because I know in season 3 he didn't last very long.
No, yeah, 4 I think is when Laurie dies, and he dies in the same episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one. So I got to be the walker for that episode, for episode 4, the one across the pond. Well, then later I jumped in the background of walkers coming out. So I'm in the mix, but I'm not up in the mix.
That's actually, I still to this day, even after the whole Jesse thing, season 3, episode 4 is my least favorite episode of all time because they killed off Laurie.
Oh, that episode. Well, you know what? She wasn't my favorite character. I sympathize with her, but when it comes to deaths in The Walking Dead that have impacted me, hers is top of the list for me. I bawled. I've never cried so hard at a death as I did for Laurie's. And I wasn't even, a huge fan of hers that, you would see me crying and you'd be like, oh, wow, she's probably your favorite character, right? No, she wasn't my favorite character, but it was just so sad and so heartbreaking. Well, and then Andrew Lincoln's performance when Carl tells him.
Out.
Well,
yeah,
doesn't tell him, but he gathers it.
And the thing that sucks the most about that is, have you ever been in the Woodbury shop?
Yes.
Every time I go to that place, especially if you go downstairs where they have the museum, that's the episode they play. And every time I go down there, it's always the freaking scene where Lori dies. It's like they planned that. It's the worst. I'm like, oh, well, CJ's coming, so let's go ahead and put on Season 3, Episode 4. Let's go fast forward right to Lori dying.
We want to see him in the fetal position crying like a baby.
Because I've been there, and that's why I think they just replay that episode over and over again for some reason, because I've been there 3 different times, months apart, and different times of the day, and it's the same freaking episode, and somehow I managed to get in there the same time that Lori dies every time.
Oh my gosh. But anyway, try and catch up on Fear. That'd be fun to talk about too.
All right, I will definitely do that. Once again, thank you for agreeing to do this. I know it was pushed off a little bit earlier this week, but we got it done.
See, there you go.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, you have a great night.
All right, you too.
Welcome back. Thanks again for joining me. Once again, Dave Sheridan is sad and, apologizes for not being here for this. He wanted to, but it was a long night doing the event he was at, so it was just me. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If this is your first time listening, please subscribe, like, you definitely share it, follow us on our social medias. I'm at CJCNOV88 on Twitter. Dave is at Dave Sheridan. Our podcast page is at Dave and Creech. Follow us on Creech Creative Productions on Facebook. Follow me at CJ Creech on Facebook. And also Dave Sheridan at Dave Sheridan Official. Now, guys, we hope you have a great night. We hope you don't get destroyed emotionally too bad. But if you do, we hope you come back to this podcast for your therapeutic release and listen to some of these stories from a possible dearly departed cast member. Well, I want to thank you again, everybody, and I hope you all have a great day, great night, and we will see you next week on the Dave and Creech Show.
Shut up and sit down.
Thank you for listening to the Dave and Creech Show. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Dave and CJ. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of Creech Creative Productions or any of its affiliates.